Welcome to the Futures Here special series hosted by Creative Brands. The Futures Here series showcases leaders, thinkers, and trendsetters in the industry, namely advertising, media, communication, and branding. My name is KG Srinivas, and I'm Editor-in-Chief of Creative Brands, a portal that covers the global creative industry and economy. Today we have with us Prateek Srivastava, co-founder of Chapter 5 Brand Solutions, a marketing consultancy and advertising company. A creative entrepreneur with over 30 years of experience in the industry, Prateek and I am Ahmedabad graduate, is a specialist in marketing, digital strategy, integrated marketing, advertising, and brand architecture. Prateek began his career with Mudra Communications, later moving to head the Unilever business at Lintas Indonesia, before becoming group president and director at Ogilvy and Mather. Additionally, he was a member of the board of directors at Ogilvy. Prateek was also chairman of the Ogilvy Worldwide office at Bangalore, where he led international projects. Prateek, welcome to the show. Some of Prateek's top clients include Flipkart, Britannia, Himalaya, Carbon Mobile, Panasonic Smartphones, Bharat Matrimony, India Property, and Vinny Cosmetics. Prateek, Chapter 5, interesting and intriguing. How and why Chapter 5, and what was that moment of provocation for Chapter 5?
It's a difficult question to answer because the fact is that the name Chapter 5 holds no meaning. It is just a name that occurred to us one fine evening, and we said, let's go with it. And the good thing about this name is that it is a great conversation starter. Everybody is intrigued by this name. So, kind of when you meet somebody for the first time, it's a good conversation opener. And I think that's what a name should be.
A conversation starter.
Yeah.
Prateek, we live in extraordinary times that completely redefine every single aspect of our lives. In the creative and communication industry, every tested notion of communication was put to test in unprecedented ways. How did you and how do you continue to ride this storm as we speak?
So this is actually a difficult time for all of us, particularly the consumer. And as you said, this is an unprecedented situation. So there is no way of knowing where it will finally say how the consumer is changing and how it has changed and how it will change. But I don't think we are anywhere close to the end game yet. So it is not wise to make predictions at this stage. It is not wise to say, oh, I know, what the consumer will start thinking 6 months from now or 1 year from now, because we don't know. That is a fact. So I think it is important at this stage to keep an open mind and keep monitoring how the consumer behavior is changing rather than be predictive about it. This is the time when brands have to follow the consumer and not lead the consumer because one, you don't know where you want to lead the consumer to, and two, you don't understand where the consumer wants to go at this stage. So it is a difficult time for everyone around. What is happening in the consumer world is that the consumer is becoming more and more a bundle of contradictions. There are several contradictions in play at the moment. I mean, from a simple thing like, wanting to get back to work and get started versus too scared to get out of the house. That itself is a contradiction. Then there are several other contradictions also. You're very worried if, is there a COVID case in your locality, in the neighborhood, and you want to keep your family safe. You're not looking beyond your immediate neighborhood and immediate family because you want safety for your family first. At the same time, you feel for all those migrant workers, you feel for all those people who are out of job, you feel for all those small businesses which are not doing well and you want to help them in some manner. So there is a lot of this individualism and selfishness in the consumer, as well as the consumer is being very open-hearted. So there are several such contradictions that we are all faced with as consumers today, and marketing gets very difficult when there are too many contradictions in the consumer's mind and in his life.
What did you draw any specific insights? I mean, amidst these contradictions, what were some of your key insights under the circumstances?
So there are some obvious insights about how people have gotten closer to their families, how they have, because they've spent so much time with their families, how they are now appreciating each member of the family much more than they used to earlier. Earlier they would take them for granted, but not so anymore. So those are some of the obvious insights, but there are several other insights also which we are which are kind of surfacing as the situation is getting more and more prolonged. One interesting thing is, and I was just talking to a lady in my neighborhood yesterday, and keeping safe distance and all that. And she was saying that in her house, the amount of food that has got consumed in the last 3 months is the food that would have normally got consumed in 7 or 8 months. So she's saying, since everyone is at home, the biggest pastime is cooking food and eating, and everybody is involved with the entire process. Now, if you look at it this way, then and you compare it to the per capita consumption of food in our country, even among the more affluent classes, which is much lower than the average in the developed world. Now, in the last 3 months, if that consumption has gone up, do you think it's going to come down later? When everything becomes normal, people will say, okay, now everything is normal, let me eat less. No, so some of these changes are irreversible. So really the trick right now is to understand what are the changes that are not get reversed versus what are the changes that people that are circumstantial and people will forget them once the situation comes back to normal. To me, that is the biggest challenge that marketers are facing today. Another example that I can give you is that after 2 months, there is this guy who irons clothes in the basement of my complex, and that is his primary source of livelihood. And for 2 months, he couldn't come, and of course went through a lot of hardships. But there's not a story about that. So he came once, and then he came again the next day, and the third day. So on the third day, I asked him, "So are you happy now that you are at least able to resume your work?" He said, "You won't believe it, but the number of clothes I get to iron is less than 10% of what I used to do earlier." So I asked him, why is it? Because people are not going out so much, and therefore they don't really need to iron clothes at home. They can wear home clothes and unironed clothes. So his insight was very different. He said, no, that's not the reason. He said that in the last 2 months, people have learned to iron their clothes. And now they realize that it was not such a difficult task at all. So now most of the clothes they're ironing themselves, only for the big clothes like bed sheets, etc. The clothes that are not so easy to iron, people are giving me. The regular shirts and trousers and children's uniform. Of course, children's uniform not relevant, but regular clothes, nobody is giving me to iron because they're ironing it themselves. So this is another behavior change. Now we had the opportunity to go back and give clothes to this person as we used to do earlier, but we are not doing it anymore. So this concept of Atmanirbhar that the PM talked about in the context of the economy is actually becoming very true in our individual lives as well. We are becoming more and more Atmanirbhar. Earlier there used to be a guy who used to come and with a thela of vegetables, cart of vegetables, and he would park himself outside our building, and people would go and pick up vegetables from him. And that guy has again started coming back, but nobody's going to him because nobody knows where he's coming from, whether the vegetables are clean and hygienic. They'd rather go to a reliable market themselves and pick it up. So there are many, many such instances which tell us that we are all becoming very Atmanirbhar. So whether the the other aspect of Atmanirbhar, whether it comes true or not, at least on an individual level, it is coming true.
Prateek, do you think these two examples that you spoke about, referred to,
Yeah.
do you think it'll have a sectoral impact, for example, on the food sector,
Yeah.
consumable sector? What impact do you think it will have once the pandemic has tapered off, hopefully sometime sooner than later? And what correlation will it have with the advertising industry?
See, food is the largest category in our country and also the largest spender when it comes to advertising, if you aggregate everything. So a lot of changes are happening with respect to the consumption of food. One thing that clearly is happening is that consumers are very rapidly moving from commodities to branded packaged stuff. It is difficult to say why exactly this is happening, because there was one theory that this may be happening because when you're selling food stuff loose, people are worried they don't know who's touched that food, who's not, and therefore they'd rather buy packaged stuff. But then when I was speaking to one of the shopkeepers, he said that no, the reason why people are buying more and more of packaged stuff is not because they feel that packaged stuff is not really touched by hand and it is more hygienic, but because consumers have developed this attitude of it's okay to spend more. When you have been through a situation where anything could have happened to you, you kind of philosophically understand that life is indeed very short. And when you understand that at a conceptual level, you want to make the most of it, and therefore you don't mind spending more on stuff that otherwise you would have said, no, this is 10 rupees a kg more in the packaged form, let me buy loose. You don't care about that anymore because you don't know what the future has in store for you. You want to buy the best. So
given what it was, advertising spends were slashed, but media consumption grew substantially in news, leisure, and entertainment.
Yeah.
Now, the rule of thumb in the industry that ad spends follow any rise or fall in GDP continues to hold true.
Yeah,
so during the last decade, as global GDP rose about 3 to 6% every year, the ad market grew with it to around about $600 plus billion in 2019.
Yeah.
But now, with the pandemic, that's going to face a substantial fall. So what is your take on potential and latent spends, ad spends, say with regard to digital and internet?
So I feel that, the quantum of spends would not go down drastically, but the way it will get spent will change. Now, one common misconception that all of us used to have is that if you are on digital, then you need to spend less. And people would spend crores on traditional media like television, etc., whether in terms of production or in media spends. But they would, when it would come to digital, they would spend maybe 1/10 of that amount. Now that mindset will change, and it will change very fast. Actually, digital is a far wider and deeper medium than television can ever be. In a typical Indian household, you will watch 20 channels, 30 channels maximum. And if you aggregate all of them and say, okay, 50% of India would watch a total of maybe 80 channels, not more than that. Whereas in digital, there is no concept of channels. Anybody can end up consuming any content, watching anything. You may suddenly feel, I need to know, where to buy XYZ from, and you go online and you click and you somewhere that you never were before. So in order to actually do justice to the digital medium, you need to spend more and not less than you would on television. Sure, there are many efficiencies, and there are many ways of monitoring where your money is going and what is the result, etc., etc. But the bottom line is that unless you spend at least as much as you were spending on TV, digital as a medium is not going to work for you. Unless you are a niche brand. If you are a regular mass brand, particularly you were talking about food, particularly if you're a brand in the foods category, you need to be prepared to spend a lot of money. And people will realize that very, very soon. And so I think the spendings will come back, but they'll go more towards digital and less towards traditional media.
I think during this time, and we spoke about digital, what were some of your own explorations? And so could we talk about it with any specific client or brand that you handled at the height of this Corona crisis? What sort of conversations did you have with them, and how did you take it forward?
See, without getting into specifics of brands, one thing that we noticed was that all the brands that we work with, each and every one of them were scrambling to find a health angle to their brand. So even if there was a remote aspect of health to the brand, they wanted to go out and talk about it. So that was one thing that we saw many brands doing, and they're still doing. The other thing that brands started doing was that they wanted to get into the good books of consumers. So they wanted to do something that made the consumer think that they actually cared, and they were not really in the business of making profits above everything else. So people, companies, they started distributing free food, they started distributing free sanitizer, and all of them were very eager to talk about it in the media, so that the consumers get to know that these brands are actually brands that want to do good. So these were the two big trends initially, and I think without exception, in every category, every industry, most of the brands jumped onto this bandwagon. I mean, the number of brands who saluted doctors, I mean, everybody wanted to salute doctors for some time. So this is how it is going right now. And I think now is the time for brands to start thinking, what is it that they can do uniquely? I think we have now again, of course, there is one more trend that has started about, let's get back to life and let's start again. And all those themes have sprung up recently. But I think this is a time for brands to forget all this and look at what they actually stand for and find meaning for what they stand for in today's context. Sorry.
Yes, but that's the I think thinking that probably drove a lot of brands also into, as you said, the philanthropic aspect or the health aspect or the concern about being seen as a caring brand. How did brands approach you to reposition them or redefine them during this crisis?
Well, I would not call it repositioning or redefining. I would say that whatever they did was more tactical, and they knew that once the crisis would get over, they would have to get back to what they were doing earlier, and so it was all very tactical stuff. I don't know if any brand really tried to reposition itself or redefine itself during this period.
Okay. In terms of time, I mean, 30 years, you've been in the industry for 30 years. The rate of obsolescence is like a year, maybe 6 months. What do you think has changed significantly? What are let's say, the top 3 changes that you have seen in the industry? Mediums have changed. There's been a digital revolution of sorts. What is it that the future beckons and what has changed in advertising?
See, the biggest change that has happened in the last few years is that everyone knows everything now. The consumer consumes so much information, so much media is getting consumed that both by consumers and marketers and everyone else, that everyone knows everything. There is nothing that you can tell someone and surprise them. There are no more surprises. So the only thing you can do is to, find a way of entertaining them, or find a way of, engaging with them in an offbeat kind of a manner. But you can't surprise them with information or news or a benefit or a brand, what I would say, a brand proposition, purpose, all of that. I don't think you can do that anymore. Consumers have seen everything. And they are now, and today, the second important thing is related to this is that consumers today are far ahead of brands. There was a time when brands used to lead to consumers. Every time a brand interacted with the consumer got to know something. Today, consumers are going way ahead of brands, and brands are finding it very difficult to keep pace with the consumer. And so the question really is, should you continue to try and outpace the consumer, or should you learn to live with the fact that the consumer will always be ahead of you? To me, today, that is the biggest challenge. And I feel that most brands should understand that they will never be able to catch up with the consumer. And so they should not even try and play the catch-up game. You should accept that consumer is ahead of you, and then figure out how best you can serve someone who's your master.
Right. Pradeep, today, the newspaper industry, newspapers are undergoing a significant churn. People are losing their jobs. There'll probably be greater integration between print and digital newspapers, for example. How do you think this will impact the industry, the advertising industry?
So I think the jury is still out on the newspaper industry. And interesting that you asked this question, because just the other day we surveyed 50 consumers in Bangalore about their newspaper consumption habits. So all 50 of them used to read a newspaper before this crisis. Now, during the crisis, at least 30 or 32 of those people stopped getting the newspaper at home. The others continue to get it. And now when newspapers, again, people are not as scared anymore, and newspapers are again coming in and all that. So out of the 30 odd people who did not subscribe to newspapers for that period, about 20 of them have started getting the newspaper again. But it is again the same thing as that iron guy. They're getting the newspaper, but they're not even opening it. And not because they're scared of virus or anything. They've just got used to not reading newspapers. So I'm a little concerned about the newspaper industry. I don't know how it will pan out. So I don't know whether there will be any synergies between print and digital. I'm not sure about that at all.
I think one final question, do you foresee or do you see any significant structural changes in the industry? Last year we had lots of mergers and acquisitions. Do you think in the wake of this pandemic, will there be structural changes again or something of that sort?
See, the first thing that will happen is that the agencies will have to get leaner. I expect that in about 2 months' time, a lot of large spenders could be renegotiating their fee with their agencies. And when that happens, agencies, in order to stay profitable, will have to find newer ways to service their clients. And one of the first thing that you need to do is to become leaner. And large agencies have the potential to become leaner, it will be good for them, because they carry a lot of dead weight, they carry a lot of unnecessary resources, they can be far more efficient than they have been. And so at the end of it, this change will be for their own good. They'll come out of it much better, much more efficient, and much smarter organizations at the end of this. So to me, that is the biggest change that will happen. And then when you become leaner, then you also have to, rethink your structures. You need to rethink the umbrella of services you offer. You need to rethink your SLAs. You need to rethink your efficiency levels. All of that. So I think a lot is going to change with the industry in the next 6 months or so.
Thank you very much, Prateek. Thank you very much for your insights and observations, and indeed the prognosis that you have to our listeners. Thank you.